Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is another GT7 video, however it's something a little bit different. Now update 1.22 is just a matter of probably a couple of weeks around the corner, and I kind of just wanted to kind of give a bit of a wish list on kind of things that I hope to see or things that I kind of want to see fixed. You know, especially with the game now kind of getting a bit later in its life cycle and feeling rather, I guess, empty on content. So I just kind of wanted to do a little discussion, you know, leave your suggestions down below of things that you'd want to see in the game, as there might be a few things that I do miss off. So let's get started. So I think this is a big one for pretty much everyone that plays GT7, is we need more grinding events, more endurance, kind of longer races with the likes of, you know, like Spa, Tokyo, etc. That are just kind of more difficult or maybe more longer, that have much better payouts to make us keep on, you know, kind of going there. Obviously at the minute we have sort of 3 or 4 events that you really go to, you know, that being this one here, Le Mans, you have Tokyo, Sardinia, and the Spa 1 hour, which is probably the least popular of, you know, those 4. However, I feel like every track should have at least one longer proper grinding event to just kind of make some of these tracks that don't get used much throughout the whole game have some more purpose to them. Now if you look at the little kind of mini speedways, I believe there's one in the sort of Americas region, I think it's like Northern Isle or something like that. And then you've obviously got Broadbean in Asia, where there's kind of, you know, next to no showing of these kind of tracks at all. And I think they'd make a great place to have some like mini, maybe 100 lap event where, you know, you use certain cars, maybe like, you know, Group 4s, maybe some road cars, etc. And I just feel like we just need more of those grinding events for each single, you know, category in the game, or each little track, just to kind of just give us some variety and kind of keep players interested. Because I don't know if it's just me, but we're now, you know, we're nearly like what, 6-7 months into the game, and just having to repeat those 3 events over and over again just gets really tiresome. I mean, it's all good kind of adding events, but if you look at the events that were added in update 1.20, you can guarantee within about 30 minutes you're done, and then you've done everything that was in that update. For me, update 1.20 was really what kind of gave me a sour feeling over this game. You know, I get it's kind of, they want to drip feed content, which I will kind of talk about, but I just feel like there should be a lot more per update. And the fact is, you've already got the tracks in the game, so it can't really be that hard to kind of program these races in, you know, pretty quickly to keep players interested before you have a whole heap of players leave. Now that is the thing with Gran Turismo 7 as well. A lot of players have kind of gone and not bothered coming back. You know, there was quite a few recently that kind of came back for the 600 tomahawk glitch. Now if that gets taken out, you can guarantee they'll probably just go again, and again Gran Turismo is going to lose, you know, a bunch of players, because it's getting to the point where it's quite repetitive. You know, yes, it's all good having 400 cars, but there's only so many times you can just hit up Le Mans, whether you're using different cars or not. So that is definitely one of the main issues I hope they look into, is just giving us more variety, and, you know, a larger variety. You know, give us longer events for each track. I don't see why it's not possible, and rather a quite quick fix. I mean, people have been crying out for ages that they want more endurance or longer events that pay well and kind of keep us interested. And I feel like, you know, if you do that for each track, you've got, you know, probably a month worth of content there just from doing those events alone, maybe even longer. So it's going to keep people invested until the next update, and you can keep building from there. Next up is custom lobby stability. Now I do a series where I race with my subscribers, and obviously we use the kind of custom lobby, the community feature, and it's an absolute nightmare to get running. You know, there's multiple times where, you know, if everybody's ready, you get ready to start the race and you get an error, and then everybody has to, you know, you have to wait while everybody kind of cancels that entry and then re-enters to get the lobby functioning again. And sometimes it won't even work. It'll take a good few times. So that, you know, I get they've kind of allowed us to, you know, change up the events and stuff, which wasn't there from day one, so that's a very welcome feature, but they're still very unstable and still kind of not the most, I guess, reputable, you know, kind of way of racing in this game when it comes to online. You know, the option needs to be there. I get it's not as popular as sport mode, but if you kind of allow us to get these you know, racers up and made these custom racers online with a bunch of people, then, you know, please just kind of look into making them just more stable and more reliable for each of us. Now, I did mention it, but I do want to get on to drip feeding. Now, I am not a fan of drip feeding. I would much rather have a big update every 3 months or so with enough content to kind of bide me over to the next one than kind of just get these awful monthly updates. I mean, I'm just not a fan of them. And my main point is 3 cars a month is just not enough. You can guarantee most people at this point in Gran Turismo's life cycle have run Le Mans or Tokyo hundreds of times, and we've got the money there ready to just buy these DLC cars. Now, the thing is, I've kind of noticed what they do. They like to have kind of one standout car. So you had like the Pikes Peak, the Super Silhouette, and obviously most recently the MP4 McLaren. And they seem to put just one standout car, then one more classic car, and then a kind of more modern kind of, you know, road going car. And I feel like it's just a running theme at this point, and it's quite boring. I'd love to see a lot more kind of variety. You know, don't just give us one standout car. Give us, you know, maybe 10 cars, some that aren't as good and some that are kind of, you know, much better. You know, I'm happy with having some of the slower compact cars added, but just add that variety in and kind of mix them up with race cars and some cars from before. Like, I mean, the car I'm using here, the Mazda, obviously there was a LM version in previous Gran Turismos, and I'd love to see that return. You know, Lotus, you know, bring them back. You know, the Lotus Elise GT1, I believe it was, or maybe the LM spec or something like that, from like Gran Turismo 2 was an absolutely awesome car. So I feel like there's a huge roster of cars that Gran Turismo can look into and, you know, maybe remodel and bring back that they're just kind of ignoring. You know, a lot of cars in this game are from around like 2016, 2017, and there's not much kind of variety. You know, you've got the few classics, you've got classics going years back, but I feel like the cars that they're bringing are very kind of set in the way, sort of, you know, here's a legendary race car, here's a, you know, more modern road car, and here's another kind of classic car. And let's be honest, most of us will only probably use one of the cars per kind of, you know, drip fed content, maybe 2 at a push if they're kind of useful. I mean, you look at the Maserati, there's so much potential there, but there's nowhere to really use it. You know, that came a few updates ago. It's an awesome car, you know, but nobody's using it because there's nowhere to really give it a proper going. You know, have some classic themed events. One of the standout events from Gran Turismo's of the past is, I believe GT5 was the Lupo one lap race around the Nürburgring, where everybody was in like a Lupo Cup car, and it was just excellent. You know, there's a lot of, you know, kind of potential to improve on the variety that's in Gran Turismo 7, because a lot of it just feels so samey. Another thing is tuning parts. Now, I'm not necessarily overly bothered about selling cars, but being able to buy engine swaps and those special kind of upgrades instead of having them kind of in a roulette system would just be much better for everybody, really. I mean, the chances of getting these engine swaps are very rare. You know, even when everyone was doing the engine swap glitch, you can guarantee if you didn't overdo it, there was still a bunch of engines that you probably missed, and some of them just never seem to appear. And that's a problem as well, because the roulette is very kind of rigged to giving you the lowest payout, and the chance of getting an engine swap, you're probably going to get probably one every 6 months, which means there's a lot of game kind of missing for a lot of players because they can't obtain these engines. I mean, the car I'm using here has the 787B engine in, which I was lucky enough to get when the glitch was around. But, you know, there's just a whole heap of like kind of new engines. Like there's a Rampage for the DeLorean and such like that. There's the BMW being able to put the GT3 race engine in it. Inside one of the older M3s. There's just a whole lot of potential. And what's weird is when you see these engines, there's actually a price tag attached. Now, I don't mind paying, you know, $1 million for a 787B engine if it means I can put it in a bunch of Mazdas and just constantly buy it. I feel like it's a much better system. You know, it opens up a lot of kind of tuning chances, I guess, in terms of the game. You know, there's a lot more to kind of do. It widens people's perspective on certain cars. It makes some cars, you know, that you might not have touched very much usable and enjoyable, but you don't really hear about it because, you know, it's very difficult to come about these engines. I mean, they're constantly adding new engine swaps into the game, but what's the point if people can't access them? You know, that's a whole chunk of game really missing for a lot of players. So I do hope that is something that they kind of think like, you know, let's make these parts buyable You know, I don't care about the price. You know, make them as expensive as you want, as long as they're not ridiculous. But like I said, I mean, I'm more than happy to pay $1 million for a 787B engine, you know, to put in my car. And I guess that kind of leads on to another point. Selling cars, look, you promised it for a long time. At this point, I'm so tired of hearing it that I'm just not even bothered by it. I mean, me personally, it's not something I'm going to use really that often, because I'm a collector more than anything. You know, the more cars the better, in my opinion. But if people want to kind of clear out a bunch of cars to be able to buy maybe like a new car that comes in the DLC and stuff, because they haven't got as much time as other players to just grind away events, then just let us do that. You know, have a proper economy there. Let us be able to maybe even trade cars through your online servers. I mean, it is a Gran Turismo game after all. I believe like back in the day, the Forza games were doing that as well, where you could sort of, you know, purchase cars from a marketplace. I mean, why not? You know, let us purchase, you know, someone's Mazda, and then secretly it's got a 787B engine in it as well. You know, just let us do all that kind of stuff. You know, there's a whole world of, you know, economy that could be kind of there, and it could really open up the game and just make it a really kind of flourishing community once again, because I feel like the Gran Turismo 7 community itself is just constantly wanting these features and they're just not being delivered on. So that is my wish list for update 1.22. Yes, it's probably a bit much to ask for, but hopefully, you know, maybe Polyphony listens to this and realizes, look, we need to get back on top of this game and just make it this wonderful world of Gran Turismo, which it should be. So that's going to be it for today's video. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. I make GT7 content on the daily. Thank you so much for the support recently, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers guys, peace.